Hey everyone, welcome back to the I-5 Corridors Traffic Report. Tyson Alger here, joined by Justin Myers as always. Happy New Year, and this playoff thing's still going, Justin. I guess we still have football to talk about?
We still keep rolling along.
Yeah.
Very different setting, though, for you.
As
we sit here in 2026, Happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah, I believe I was in a massage chair last week.
In a massage chair, full T-shirt, sunglasses now, and then doing what people who, like what the snowbirds do, which... I don't know if you noticed this being in Florida in December and then into January. Anybody that I know that lives in Florida or Arizona, they always try to do it gets cold down here too. And it's like, shut up. Like, you're still wearing a T-shirt. You may put on a light jacket.
Right.
You don't own a parka. But it feels like within like 3 days, you already assimilated to like snowbird status of like, it's a little chilly down here in South Florida.
I mean, when we got to the stadium at like 8 a.m. For the Orange Bowl, like you could see your breath as you go, but that might have been a little bit of the physics of the humidity.
The humidity down there in Florida is different. You're right.
Whatever it is. We had no reason to complain about anything. Like I think the only reason you could complain is if you like brought like full beach wear and only beach wear. Might have been a little brisk then. I'll give people that. But
so you were talking about Aaron Fentress,
correct?
Who brought only beachwear and did every one of his bits of content, video content. If he wasn't at the stadium, he was at the beach.
So fun little Fentress subplot from this trip. On the 31st, they had a party for the media. It was like it was at the restaurant at the hotel, nice little buffet set up, and they had a whole bunch of like gambling pits with like they gave you fake Monopoly money to gamble throughout the night, and at the end you could exchange that. They gave you tickets like it was Dave and Buster's, and you could put your tickets in what thing that you wanted to win, and there was like a various amount. There was some gadgets, some coffee, some whatever. Matt Preem won like 6 out of the 8 things because if you know Matt, the writer for Duck Territory 247, let's just say like he's always enjoyed the Pac-12 tournament in Vegas.
Very, very
right.
True.
Like you know somebody's just doing it for the love of the game when it's a fake gambling table and you're the only person at it. Like, just Matt took them for all their money. But Matt's problem was how are you going to bring all this stuff home?
Yeah.
Like included of all these things is an espresso machine.
He wanted an espresso machine.
Kind of. Matt left the Nespresso machine behind. It was a donation to maybe the maid service, if you will, of the media hotel, because he's like, it's going to cost more to check a bag to bring this home than it would probably just to buy it.
Fair enough.
So I thought that was the end of said Nespresso machine. I catch my flight out of Miami. I have a layover in Atlanta, which, by the way, like the idea of being in Atlanta when I have to fly back to Atlanta like 4 days later, middle seat. Anyways, I'm waiting for the train to go to the different terminal, and I see this shiny bald head with headphones on that I'd recognize anywhere as a traveling Aaron Fentress, and he's standing waiting for the train with the Nespresso machine.
Hey, can you believe somebody left this behind?
Essentially. And so he traveled with the Nespresso machine from Miami to Atlanta to Portland, carrying that sucker and coach with him.
Well, all right, here's what's interesting to me. And then we'll get to stuff maybe interesting to the listeners.
Right.
Because I don't know if they enjoy our media tales. I thoroughly do. If I remember right, Fentress is not a big coffee drinker. If I remember when we worked together at NBC Sports, I remember one day he was like, "Man, I'm so tired. I think I'm going to make a coffee," but he like never does it. I don't think he's a big coffee maker or coffee drinker. So maybe wife.
Right.
Maybe
yeah.
a fun, extra gift.
I'm assuming he went through the same process that all of us went through when we were in Miami, as our wives and families were back home in Portland. Is I got to bring something home to salvage this.
Fair enough. Yes.
I mean, I was going through it enough because we got every year at one of these big bowl games, you usually get some sort of souvenir, and this year it was like a big gym bag with like the Orange Bowl logo on it. It's kind of cool. But I was packed to the brim too, so I had to like sleeping bag roll that thing up, and it didn't make for a comfortable 6-hour flight back from Atlanta to Portland, having that thing in my backpack inflated all the way up. But yeah, I got a nice bag to carry out all of my New Year's resolutions with.
Fair enough. And you roughed it for the people.
I did,
and made it
really
back
did.
in time.
I only got a little sunburn on my nose. I didn't see the beach until the last day, but damn it, Myers, we saw it. Although you have to pay $2 to go onto the pier. What is this? $2 to take a picture of a pelican.
Honestly, of all the great states in these United States, I can say I've never been to Florida. Been to a lot of states. Been close. I think Atlanta's probably the closest I've been. Never been to Florida, so I didn't know that you had to pay to go onto the pier. Is the beach free?
The beach, I believe, is free.
I think you can drive on the beach, right? I think I've seen video of people, they just drive their car. I don't know if you got the rental car on the beach, but
we took a Uber to the beach, and I'm kind of glad we did because I was having lunch with Bill Oram. It was like a taco stand, overlooking the parking lot and the beach, and we counted about 15 different people who nearly got hit in the parking lot. By Florida drivers, I think lived up to the expectation, if not exceeded them. But yeah, fun trip. Maybe doing it again.
Maybe potentially. More on that maybe coming up in a bit. When I first got here, right before we hit record, and then outed Preem and Fentress for their traveling Nespresso machine, back and forth, you asked me, so what do you want to talk about? First question, football question, and I think it's interesting. You were there New Year's Day 2015.
Correct.
As Oregon beat the brakes off of Florida State. Marcus had just won the Heisman Trophy, 3 weeks earlier. They wiped up all the awards. They win by 39. You get the great highlight of Jameis Winston throwing the ball back into the waiting arms. Who scored? I forget who scored the touchdown.
Tony Washington.
Tony Washington, the waiting arms, and he scores a touchdown. And Oregon beats the brakes off of Florida State. And if there was a vibe check, Tyson, for Oregon football,
that was probably good.
If it's not the peak, I don't know what was, and I've lived my life through most of the peaks of Oregon football. But I think that New Year's Day,
because that sort of felt like obviously the Chip Kelly ascension was its own animal in itself, but this kind of felt like the slight step up to the final spot, if you will, because you had the quarterback too. You had Marcus.
You had the quarterback. You had the Heisman Trophy. At that point in time, you could have asked me, Justin, your entire net worth on Oregon to win the national title. I would say double it. Put it on credit. There's no, because Ohio State had just beat Alabama.
They were down to their third string quarterback.
Yeah, no way they're going to beat Oregon. So, as a vibe, that was the highest, I think, peak in Oregon football history. I'm wondering, where does this one rank? Because I feel like it's got to be pretty close. It's now the third playoff win in Oregon football history. Dan Lanning now has won back-to-back playoff games. They get back to the Final Four for just the second time, as the other time was in that 2014 season. And kind of maybe the one thing that was kind of lingering around Dan Lanning, right? So the Dan Lanning baggage that he has since checked was couldn't beat Washington. Check. Did that. Couldn't win the big game.
Check.
Beat Ohio State last year. Then it got to that Rose Bowl and the playoffs.
Can't win the bigger game.
Yeah. Went from can't win the big game. And then also beat Penn State this year on the road, which at the time was a very, very big game. Turned out not to be. But there was still that stench of rotten roses, if you will, Tyson, from a year ago when Ohio State and company just absolutely blew Oregon's doors off in about 8 minutes of football, and an entire season of greatness was gone in a wash.
Correct.
And then Oregon goes to Miami, and I would say if you were to give Dan Lanning truth serum, what's the best way to win a game? if he were being 100% honest, I would think he would say that way. If I could choose how to win a game, it would be a shutout, defensive, turnovers. Go for it on fourth down because who cares?
Especially because I'm glad you mentioned the fourth down thing too, because like this felt like finally like Dan pitching like his perfect game, because he came from Georgia with like this defensive pedigree. He was the defensive coordinator of one of the best college football teams ever, and we've had kind of like ups and downs and valleys in terms of like the defensive output from this team. Like on paper, the numbers are very good, but we've seen the way that they've played in some of those big games, whether it's the Washington 2 years ago or the Rose Bowl last year, was just like, this was a defensive guy. Like I thought they'd be better game plan for that. And so for them to, what was it? First postseason shutout for the Ducks since 1917.
Yep.
I believe.
That 17 Rose Bowl team was scrappy though.
Yeah.
Was that Penn? I believe they shut out Penn.
It was Penn, not Penn State. Just
no.
Penn.
Take that, Quakers.
You know, it was Penn's squash program and football team were their claims to fame at the time. But yeah, like I feel like that if Dan can kind of like stamp like, here's like the best Dan Lanning win that he's probably putting in his cap, it's probably this one. Although you do kind of like talking about all these other ones, like I still don't know where to put this in the pantheon of where that peak is, because I feel like maybe it's because this game wasn't all that. I mean, it was, what was the final? 23-0.
Yeah.
Granted, there was a touchdown tacked on there at the very end, but this was just a dominant Oregon game from the start. So maybe it didn't have like that thrilling aspect to it. But in terms of like what it did for this team in this season and the kind of the affirmation it gives the coach, like when it was just the 4-team playoff, I think the expectation was reach the playoff and then whatever happens there. Well, you're in the Final Four now. You've won 2 of those playoff games. I don't think whatever happens from here, like I think you can rest your hat on this was a successful season. I think that should be the standard. And I just think that really kind of, especially coming into this year with the questions that we had about this team rebuilding from what happened last year and then losing, what was it, 11 draft picks, Dylan Gabriel, all these things. And for them to like lose one game during the season to the team that they're playing next week, who's the unquestioned number one. Like it's been a fantastic season, and it has the ability to, if they win next week, if they beat Indiana, like I think you're, whatever happens after that, you're in the air of best Oregon season ever.
And I think we'll just maybe leave the potential matchup that's still out there. Maybe we'll just leave that in the future. Certainly not thinking about that as an Oregon fan, that potential matchup, that if, in fact, Oregon could get past Indiana, which I will fully admit this, because I watched that game at Autzen Stadium. I was there when Indiana not only beat Oregon, but, I mean, like, suffocated them.
Right.
Like, there was a moment where it looked like Oregon, they tied the game on a pick six right after shout.
It was like Brandon Finney's big coming out.
Yeah, like, okay, here it is. That's the turn. Welcome to Autzen, Indiana. It was a fun little ride. And then I watched the future Heisman Trophy winner go on an absolute backbreaker drive.
Golly G'd his way into that.
He really did. And then you had to pay attention to Indiana after that. And then I watched them in what looked to be a game that they should have lost against Penn State. Found a way to win, which great teams do. Went to the neutral site, beat up on maybe a fraud in Ohio State. Maybe
they still haven't played anyone, Justin.
They ain't played nobody, Paul. But and then just beat Alabama in a quarterfinal game in the Rose Bowl, and like not only beat Alabama, but like Kirk Herbstreit said it on the broadcast, like Alabama quit, like. Indiana, the Hoosiers, right? They made the Alabama Crimson Tide quit. And I know their uniforms are kind of similar, but boy, it felt like...
The best thing I saw from that entire game, and I wasn't able to really watch the game, but I saw a tweet where it said there was a section of Indiana fans after the game that were still chanting, "We want Bama."
Well played. Well played. So all the evidence in front of me, Tyson, is like... Indiana is the best football team in the country. Not only did they prove it during the regular season, they proved it in the Big Ten title game, and then they went and put an absolute, cap on it by beating Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Yet I still can't make myself believe that the Alabama or the Indiana Hoosiers are good at football. Like the uniforms are magic, I've always said, right? And it just feels like just you could take mediocre players and you could put them in really good uniforms and they're going to perform better. And I still can't bring I know they're good. I'm actually really excited that Alabama's favored in this game because I was worried that maybe the voters or Vegas was going to kind of do the same thing I'm doing. Like, yeah, but it's still out. Like they have proven every single time this year they are the best team in the country. Curt Cignetti with a masterful rebuild, maybe the greatest rebuild in college football history. Helps you get to pay the players.
True.
More on that in a moment. But it's a masterclass in how to build a program from nothing. Yet I still can't believe that Indiana is the Goliath to Oregon's David.
Where does it leave you as an Oregon fan, considering Oregon's basic 25-year rise in college football, kind of like to this moment where it was like slow rise with Bellotti, big acceleration with Chip, plateau, dive, raise, plateau. Like it's been this gradual process to get to where like, okay, you're 2 wins away, versus an Indiana team that's been able to flip this like within 2 years essentially. Are you concerned at all that like Oregon's had to adapt this growth through almost like 3 different eras of college football, if you will.
Yeah.
It was the 2000s, then the initial playoff, and then now here in the entire spending spree. It's long felt like the Ducks were chasing the Alabamas, the Georgias, especially in that super team era where it's basically there's 3 or 4 teams in the country that have all the good players. But then they've had to adjust again to this now era where the talent has really kind of spread out amongst the country. And you do have, like Oregon, as Oregon was building this program, they weren't thinking of an Indiana that they had to worry about, like there's newcomers to this.
And Indiana, it's interesting because Texas Tech was also one of those teams.
Right, exactly.
And you see Texas Tech now doing kind of what those big money teams do, like a little bit of like I very much remember 1995 and the Cotton Bowl disaster, and the lore is, and I refuse to believe there's anything but this, because I like the story better. Mm-hmm. If it's real or not, I don't care. But the story was always, after that game, Phil Knight went to Bellotti and was like, "What do you need?"
Correct.
What do we need? I don't ever want to do this ever again. What do you need? And then 2 years later, the Moe Center was built. A year after the Moe Center, they redesigned the logo. And then that was the beginning of that, like you mentioned, that 25-year. But it was after that loss. And it's funny because Texas Tech is like, okay, we just got shut out in the quarterfinal after we thought we bought a pretty good team.
Right.
What do we need to do? $5 million. Get us a quarterback. So, yeah, it's interesting that like that's kind of the new blueprint of, whereas like Oregon built it up with not really smoke and mirrors, but kind of flash.
Right.
And had to figure out how to do things just a little bit different. I would say Indiana is kind of doing the modern version of that. It's just their difference is we get to buy players, and we're better at buying players than you are.
Right.
Which is all, like, it's all above board. But it just feels like that's going to be the new, like, forever it was like whatever coach could out-recruit would win, right? Who was the best in the living room? Now it's like, who can spend money the smartest,
right,
is going to find. And whoever is running the show, and I get a sense is probably mostly Curt Cignetti, but whoever figured it out at Indiana, they figured it out because they got their donors in line, they got their money, and they spent it incredibly well.
It's just fascinating looking at this Final Four because Indiana's kind of the hot story because of Cignetti. Mm-hmm. Ole Miss is the story because of what happened with Lane Kiffin,
yeah,
and the fact that it seems like they're not going to have any assistance of it. I don't know exactly what's happening here, but it's not the most ideal conditions to be preparing for a national semifinal. And then you have Miami and the U, and whoever brings back the U is going to become one of the names college football remembers for a very long time. And so I almost feel like that the way that everyone's approaching this Final Four, like Oregon seems like the old story, because Oregon's been in the orbit for the last 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
Like they're not an outlandish team to be here, if you will, because they've been around or in the conversation. But it's fascinating that it almost feels like that they're the old, almost like blue blood, battle worn team in this Final Four when they're still chasing their first title too. Like for them, I mean, this paints out as a storybook story, obviously, for Indiana, but it kind of does for Oregon too, in the way that you're going to have to essentially beat the new version of Oregon, and then whoever they might end up whomever they might end up facing in a couple weeks. Yeah.
It may potentially end up but again,
and I think Dan can use that. I mean, like this is a team that obviously very much likes to have a chip on its shoulder, and it likes to do like the Michael Jordan, like take any slight and turn it into a thing. And yeah, like I don't think Oregon is the darling of this Final Four, when I feel like if it was the other way around and there was still the Alabamas and Georgias and Ohio States in there, maybe they would be.
It was interesting. I was talking to some people at my regular job and asking, like, who do you want to, because I think Alabama, Indiana was New Year's Day. That was the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
So it was after Oregon had already won. And I was like, who do you want to win this game? And like every Oregon fan was like, oh, Indiana. One Indiana.
You wanted to beat Bama.
I thought that. Again, as I said earlier, I believe Indiana's the best team left in this tournament. If you want your team to win, the best team getting knocked off is probably a good thing.
Right.
But I think it's still like funny because of last year. Oregon fans, myself included, refused to believe that maybe Ohio State was better, and that one night at Autzen with an interesting 12 men on the field call, that Oregon may have upset Ohio State, but maybe Ohio State was a little bit better. And if you ask most Oregon fans, they'll probably say, no, it's just hard to beat a team twice. Right. You know, this is the. So it's funny.
Also, by the way, Oregon fans, you cannot hold on to that one, because remember Washington a couple.
No, Tyson, it's hard to beat a team twice.
Yeah.
That's why. What happened in the Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore.
3 times in a row is pretty challenging too.
So it's just, I find it very interesting that most Oregon fans that I was talking to in that snippet of time between the Orange Bowl and the Rose Bowl was, oh yeah, Indiana. It's hard to beat a team twice. And it's like, I think Indiana's the best team. I'd like to see them knocked off, please. So now it's a 3.5 point spread, I think.
I believe so.
Indiana's the favorite. I'm fascinated to see how Indiana kind of handles that, because I think even in the quarterfinals, you would say Georgia's even though Indiana's number 1, there were probably a lot of people saying, oh, Ohio State and Georgia, though.
Right.
Like, those are the 2 teams. And then, boom, boom, they get knocked off. Now Indiana, for the first time, I think, really all year, even with that number 1 ranking, they are the clear favorite to win this whole thing. Fascinated to see how they handle that, because that's another thing of why college football is so great, is they look like men, but they are kids, right? Some of them are men. Yeah. Some of them are like 38 years old, especially college basketball players. Apparently, you just have like a 12-year NBA career and then just come back and play college basketball if you want. But most of them are children. Most of them are kids.
Right.
Most of them are, struggling with how to do the laundry. Even though they look like grown adult men. So seeing how Indiana handles that, that's going to be fascinating to me.
It will be. Can we just? We won't go into it. We won't even name him by name. But can we talk about the Ohio State Miami game for just a second?
Yeah, let's do it.
Are Oregon fans allowed to still kind of do the he can't coach thing anymore? Because that's a massive win. It's a very massive win. He built the program pretty quickly. Like, I do remember when Mario Cristobal left and he kind of gave like his introductory press conference at Miami, and he was asked a few things about Oregon. He's like, we've recruited our asses off for 4 years and they're all still puppy dogs. They're ready to roll. Here 4 years later, most of the guys in the system are Dan Lannings, but like the Ducks didn't have to take like that dip. It wasn't like a full rebuild. It was how can we take this and launch it? So Cristobal's done at Miami what he said he was going to do at Oregon. Like he's done what a lot of coaches in the past weren't able to do. Granted, you're allowed to give legal money at Miami now instead of maybe what they were doing in the past. So I assume you were rooting for them to beat Ohio State because we'd like to see that ultimate storybook final, right, of Dan versus he who shan't be named in the championship game. But like, where are you falling on your relationship with Oregon's former coach?
Okay. As I told you when we started this little project over a year ago now, which I have been incredibly thankful for the platform and the time. And
by the way, I love the helipad edition you put on the house.
It's been great.
The money we made for this. Sponsorship's still available, by the way.
Still on, we bought it on credit because the financial windfall's coming.
I mean, it's unhealthy to not have debt.
Fair enough. That's how you build your credit score. So I have said I will always be honest. I'm still not over the Cristobal thing. I've wanted Miami to lose every time, even when playing Ohio State.
Really?
I wanted Miami to lose. I wanted Mario Cristobal's decision to go to Miami, even though, looking at it now, may have been the best decision, maybe for him and his family, and he's brought the U to the semifinals, and Ray Lewis, by the way, don't Wikipedia Ray Lewis where it says personal issues.
White suit.
Yep. Where did it go? And there's Ray Lewis on the sideline standing next to Michael Irvin, white suit, White House. Don't Google White House, Michael Irvin. It may have worked. I still don't want it to work.
It is quite the contrast from like having Phil Dunphy on your sidelines to, again, White House, white suit.
Yeah. But it's working. Yeah. The Miami thing's working, and I've wanted it to. The only thing is though, like, it's what bothers me about where college football is now, which is again makes me a hypocrite because Oregon did not win the Big Ten. Oregon did not go to the Big Ten title game. Like, Miami was the fourth best team in the ACC. Like, now we're just supposed to believe that they're one of the best teams in the country. Like, they were 10-2 in the regular season in the worst power conference in America. Like,
I don't know. Dan didn't have very kind things to say about the Big 12 schedule from the Ducks versus them this week.
I know. All right, so let me put a button on the Cristobal thing. We said we could.
Yeah, we might have more time on that one.
So if Ole Miss and Miami are playing on Thursday night, I want Ole Miss to win.
Yeah.
I know that Oregon is better off with Dan Lanning. I know that Cristobal probably made the best decision for him and his family, and everything in the football world seems to be like win-win-win, right? But yet there's still that part of me that's like, no, you dumped us.
Yeah. It was like jarring being down there too. And again, I wasn't around a whole lot of like pretty Miami, but in the couple times it was like, yeah. If I was making $10 million a year, I could see how it could. I could see it.
The South Hills of Eugene just doesn't quite do it the same as maybe Coral Gables, or maybe in Boca Raton. Who knows where he lives?
Probably be sleeping at the office last.
Probably would.
Yeah.
It's like you have like a friend who had like a relationship and she dumped him, and then he immediately does, well, she was crazy.
Yeah.
She was nuts. And then like you look on Instagram and like she actually found somebody else, and then got married and had like a family. And
Is volunteering at a soup kitchen
seems to be thriving, but in your head, your buddy's like, no, crazy. Like that's me with Cristobal. It's like we're fine, actually better than fine, probably better off, and.
He posts a picture. You immediately have to post a picture right afterwards.
Yeah. Should wish well. I don't.
Right.
I don't. I don't know why that. It's that insecure Oregonian in me. It's like, what, are we not enough? And that's why we all love Dan Lanning so much. I mean, I don't ever want to hear anybody dispute. Look, Dan Lanning, in my mind, had a $100 million lifetime guaranteed contract to Bama, and he said no, thank you. And that's what the story that I'm sticking with.
$200 million.
Might have been $200 million, and that's what I'm sticking with. He loves us, and he loves our state and university, and he's never leaving, and that's how I choose to believe it.
I just know that the final chapter in whatever postscript comes in Shoe Dog for Phil Knight is going to be what happens here with this Oregon football team. If they win a national championship, that's going to be the last chapter. And from a editorial standpoint, beating the guy who was the last guy to scorn you personally, Phil Knight, to leave for Miami and an Adidas school in the process.
Yeah.
I feel like that works. It ties things up nicely.
Yeah, that's the journalist in you.
Yeah,
that's you rooting for the story, which I respect. Whereas I am rooting by emotion that I wish him to lose, and Oregon to win, and then Oregon Ole Miss. And Ole Miss is maybe all their assistant coaches are gone, maybe even half their players are gone, and Oregon faces shell of Ole Miss. Confetti falls. I cry. And then that's going to be an exciting podcast that week.
It was just fascinating to be in that stadium, though, and it's all dolled up because it's the Orange Bowl and it's a bowl game, but it's like, this is Mario's home stadium, like this, because it especially because you're coming from Autzen, which is one of the more iconic stadiums in college football, and it has a lot of pomp and pageantry and all those sorts of things. And Hard Rock Stadium, while it's undeniably cool, it's like in the middle of it's not in the middle of a parking lot, it's in the middle of a freaking racetrack, and it just feels if you were to make like a comparison, it kind of has that you're going from like a Matt Court to Matthew Knight sort of thing, like undeniably cool place, but like this is supposed to be like a college atmosphere, but also maybe it really pumps there on a Saturday in Miami when things are going well. But
yeah, I can't imagine it does.
Yeah.
I've never like understood, because I've even heard I believe UCLA is going to be playing at SoFi now. Like the college team playing at the NFL stadium never works. It never works. And for those the Raiders used to play at the Coliseum. I get it. That was USC's field from the jump when they built it in the 30s for the Olympics, and then it became USC's field. It's right on USC's campus. But the college team that plays at the NFL stadium,
right,
it never works. So I know that was part of the plan though, right? Was Cristobal and some big money donor was going to build a new Orange Bowl, and it's going to be right on campus, and I don't know how that's going. Maybe something to do with inflation. Yeah. I don't know. But neither here nor there.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
We've talked a lot this season and coming into these playoffs about how just kind of the overall product of college football is in danger of losing its secret sauce, and we talked about whether bowl these games should be hosted at team sites instead of Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, it's going to be the TV viewership and experience that people get on their New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, that's going to decide what happens with this round of playoffs, in my opinion. How was your playoff viewing experience? Because, us covering this game, I was able to watch the majority of New Year's Eve, the Miami-Ohio State game. But in terms of New Year's Day, Rose Bowl's kicking off and happening while we're doing post-game interviews. I didn't get to experience it. Was it passable for you, college football fan?
Passable, sure. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, if I, like, squint and tilt my head.
It didn't help that it was like a
looks
monsoon at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Too.
I mean, but the Rose Bowl is always going to be the Rose Bowl, right? It's always, like, it looks beautiful. I'm pretty sure it's a sellout every time. What was 70% of the Hard Rock Stadium was full?
The craziest thing about the Orange Bowl too is
a lot
like
of blue seats.
It undeniably felt like a big game. There was nothing to it to me other than like the plush stuffed animal orange that we got.
Yeah.
As a media thing that made it feel like that, like, because when you're at the Rose Bowl, you're like, this is the Rose Bowl, and it has that feeling to it. The Orange Bowl felt like a college football playoff game, which was fine, but it's like, you know, you're just slapping another title on it at this point.
I mean, I'm sure there's probably an economic answer to all of this as to why everything happens the way it does. Because is it still the FedEx Orange Bowl?
Capital One
Orange Bowl. Sorry, my bad.
By the way, Third Eye Blind halftime show.
Yeah, how was that?
I was in the bathroom line.
Wish you would step back from.
I wish this line would hurry up, my friend.
I would yeah. I'm sure, like, because of the money that Capital One and all of the, like, big time sponsors put into there, but, like, I feel like it's just time to just let the Bulls go. They, like, it's just time to. It feels almost like
You done good, old Yeller.
you done. Yeah. And it just feels like it's just time. It's like
You take the Dr. Pepper halftime student throwing it into the bucket out one last time.
You know, Tyson, I'm a fan of old school professional wrestling. Not the biggest fan of the new stuff because, well, I'm a grumpy old man. But the old stuff I love, and YouTube is great. And
That's going to be our next offshoot podcast. Is just replayables of
dude, 1988 SummerSlam. The Mega Powers.
Wait,
I mean,
we're really just leaning into the Simmons side of things.
But
Limitless.
But then I see, like, Ric Flair's gonna do one last match, and it's like, Nature Boy, don't.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it. And
no.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel about, like, the Orange Bowl. It's like, let's just be done. Like, you're not even playing at the only one that is left is the Rose Bowl. Right? That's the only one that is left. Right? The Orange Bowl used to play at the Orange Bowl. The Cotton Bowl used to play at the Cotton Bowl. Like, they don't anymore. One Orange Bowl is no longer in existence.
Wasn't there one Rose Bowl that was like in Atlanta though during COVID, or it was somewhere else?
No, there was one Rose Bowl, World War II. Oregon State traveled to Durham, North Carolina to play Duke because there was fear of a West Coast attack on New Year's Day.
The more you know.
Boom. But, like, the Rose Bowl is the only one that still feels like it because there's a whole economy in Pasadena on, like, the Rose Bowl. Like, we are this close from having a Rose Bowl parade, but no Rose Bowl. Like, it's going to happen at some point. So, they're playoffs now. Let's just make them playoffs. And I know there's a lot of very crusty old men with very gaudy jackets and pins that are probably going to lose their hobby. But it's time to go.
Dude, there's so many orange jackets.
I know. And then the red Rose Bowl jackets and the yellow Fiesta Bowl jackets. And it's just time to put them away. It's over. It was a good run. We're done now. I hate it. I hate everything about it. But, like, I'm sorry. But, like, we're watching 5 Pop-Tarts dance at the coin flip. Like, we're done now. We're seeing, like, the Holiday Bowl, which used to, like, I remember I was on the air in Eugene, and, of course, me being me, saying, like, the Holiday Bowl is not a good bowl. You should aspire to be in, at that point, it was a BCS bowl. And that a Holiday Bowl was kind of the sign of a mediocre season. And people, Tyson, would call me, and this is when I used to take calls. I would stop soon after.
Now you have me screened for you.
Yes. Yeah. And people would call me, all sorts of things of how dumb and stupid and idiotic I was and how great the Holiday Bowl was. And it was such a great accomplishment. And then I turn on the Holiday Bowl and I see Kevin from The Office throw a bucket of eggnog on a sitting Division I college football coach. Like that's what we're doing now. This is what's happening. Far from the years of Joey Harrington catching a pass from Keenan Howry to beat Texas in the Holiday Bowl is Kevin from the Office throwing eggnog.
The thing that gets me too is like you have a mixture of national media people kind of like shitting on what basically the current state of like the bowl process and college football postseason, but then those are the ones who like oddly like really lean into like tweeting 500 times about the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like, sweet, we are all just carrying that PR water for Kellogg's here, but hey,
you know what, bowl gifts are nice. All right, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, and I wanted to kind of bring this up because I've always been curious. I've been around people, and I'll start with myself. Tyson, I care very much what people think about me.
Oh, yeah.
I really do. Mm-hmm. I spend far too much time caring about what people think of me. And if people don't like me, it bothers me. Then I've been around people who say, I don't care what anybody thinks about me, mm-hmm. when clearly they're lying.
Correct.
Then I've been around people who actually DGAF.
Correct.
Is Dan Lanning a DGAF guy?
He might be a DGAF.
Because I watched that Ducks versus them thing, and it was 17 minutes, and it was glorious. And there was one 30-second part where I go, ooh. They let that out, which is him sitting there saying that Texas Tech is all hat, no cattle, which is... You might as well insult somebody's mother in the state of Texas than to call them all hat, no cattle. And that's one thing to say that in the locker room. It's one thing to say that pregame, but then to record it, and I'm sure he saw the final cut.
Oh, no, I asked Lanning about 2 months ago. I was like, hey, final cut of the Ducks versus them. Who gives a thumbs up, thumbs down? He's like, it's me every time.
Yeah. And first off, I don't know if you were... there, but the Texas Tech head coach, forgive me, I forgot his name. That's how good, yeah. Where he was like, what a great team. I hope Oregon wins the whole thing. I got so much respect for what they just did. I hope they win the whole thing. Like, now that he knows that they were basically saying, you are all frauds. We knew it coming in. We don't even need to really try hard on offense. I wonder how he would feel. But it's just like, does Dan Lanning really not care? Because he even said this week, he's like, oh, it feels like you and Signetti are kind of friends. He's like, yeah, it's hard to have friends.
Yeah.
Because he says things like that because he will do what it takes to fire up his team and win, including calling Texas Tech frauds essentially to their face after the fact.
There's got to be a little bit of coaches and understanding the heat of the moment of trying to fire your roster up. I'm going to go way out of turn here and shock you by making an F1 comparison here.
I like it.
A lot of times, so they have all the drivers' radios like live, like during the race, and a lot of times, like if you have a guy cut a guy off or do something that a driver doesn't like, you'll hear just bleep, 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 like this mother effer doesn't know how to drive. Like, and especially between, there's two very popular drivers, Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton's won like 7 championships. Fernando Alonso's won 2. He's always been chasing Lewis. There was a radio message last year where Lewis cut him off, and Fernando's like, this guy only knows how to drive from the front. It's just kind of stuff that, like, when you play it over, the media runs with it a ton. But afterwards, none of the drivers say they don't care because it's like the heat of like we get it, like like things come out like when you're under that much pressure or stress or in the heat of the battle. So like they kind of like let it play over, but I don't think it really doesn't not bother them too. Mm-hmm. Like I'm sure Texas Tech's coach is going like, what the hell? Like we just had we had a real nice presser up there. We both talked about coaching or high school ball.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan. Okay. I also wonder. Dan's got to have a ghostwriter, right? Like he's got to have. I mean, because in each one of those Ducks versus them, there's always one line banger that like you're just like it's kind of like back in the day when you got a new like hip hop record and you're going through like, oh, that was a bar, right? Mm-hmm. Says the white kid from Alaska.
There we go. But, nailed it though.
Yeah, I mean it's you can tell that he enjoys that part of the process. All hat, no cattle.
Well, much like I told you earlier about how I will never not believe the Alabama story. And I will never not believe the Mike Bellotti Cotton Bowl story about Phil Knight. I believe that Dan Lanning comes up with that off the top of his head. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I mean, I do believe it. He reads a ton. He reads a ton of stuff about leaders, about battles, about all those sorts of things.
But it was just, I found it fascinating that because this whole thing started with the Colorado thing. Correct. A couple years ago with we're playing for wins, they're playing for clicks. And it felt like, I think, because Dan said afterwards, like, that's probably the last time I'm going to allow anybody other than our cameras in the locker room. And I was like, oh, okay, yep, that was your pump-up speech. Probably not all that unhappy that it got out because you beat the hell out of them, but you said, oh, probably not going to let that happen again. And since then, we've seen video of him taking a sledgehammer to a Washington helmet.
We saw the we are, and then it was at the Penn State game. What did he finish it with?
I believe about to get our ass beat.
Yeah, something like that.
Said that.
I mean, it even predates, if in a way, the Colorado game, when after signing day he just posted the video of him smoking the cigar in his little lounge at his house. Like, this is a guy who's always been like proud of being able to be like, we're really good and I'm going to turn the screws a little. It's almost like, it's not to the extent of like Lane Kiffin trolling, but it's almost like if Lane Kiffin actually had some substance around like his trolling.
Because I've always felt like some of the most successful college football coaches in history, you have to be, I say, like a politician. And that usually comes with a negative context. But look, politicians, you have to get lots of people to believe that you should be in charge. And that's a skill.
Right.
Now, the being in charge part isn't always necessarily a skill, but getting people to believe you is a skill. And, there's always been, though, a handful of those coaches that essentially were able to call you a piece of shit to your face and have you like it.
Right.
Like Spurrier was one, Saban was another. I don't know if Lanning's at that level yet, but I feel like the wiring is the same.
Right.
Of like, yeah, great, sure, I'm gonna smile, but when I talk to my team about you, I'm gonna let it be known that you didn't play anybody, and we're about to smoke you at 9 a.m. local time.
Like here's how much that Lanning has that DGAF mentality. At the last 15 minutes of the Orange Bowl media day press conference, Dan was at a podium. Tosh Lupoy's at a podium right next to him. Players are all at different podiums, but Dan's been out there for basically the whole hour, and it's the last 10 minutes, and finally there's nobody around his thing. Did I tell this story last week? Okay. There's nobody, and next to him, there's nobody around Tosh's either. And you could tell Tosh kind of wanted some attention because he took his podium mic, which has speakers around, and he just kind of starts narrating other interviews that he's seen happening around. He's like, B to A, Amari, B to A, or, it's just, and so I was like, okay, I have these two coaches. Nobody's around either of them. I have time to go talk to one of them. I don't have anything to talk about. I have to make a decision here. Who out of these two is going to play ball better with an unprepared Tyson? Yeah. I ran as fast as I could away from Dan Lanning's side of things because, Dan doesn't care. Like, Dan will just be like, there's nobody here because I answered all the questions. Like, what do you want? and instead I went to Tosh and was just like, you look like you're enjoying yourself. He's like, yeah. I was like, even with how busy you've been. He's like, well, it's Ducks in the morning, Cal at night. Then so I asked him, do you believe in sleep science? And I got a nice little quote from Tosh, who basically said it's a placebo effect, and he hasn't had 8 hours of sleep in more than a decade. Mm-hmm. Tweeted that out. There was a bunch of smart people believing that I was endorsing this, who very much let me know neglecting sleep is unhealthy and I'm an idiot. But
sure. There's a lot of doctors on the internet I've found.
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
I don't know, like it happened like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
About a lot of doctors.
I mean, ultimately what it comes down to is like I don't think Tosh actually believes not getting sleep is healthy for him. I do believe that he just knows he has such little time and he can't get that sleep anyway, so he might as well not bitch about it.
Can I bitch about some things?
You want to talk hoops, don't you? Or is this not what you want to?
Yeah, the two hoops things. We'll save the Oregon part of it.
As you were running down your conclusion of like the end of the bowls, and you're like, it's dead, it has no meaning left to it. Like the change, I thought it was like we could just clip this for basketball review.
So I do want to talk about Oregon basketball in a minute, but like this is my one outlet. I used to be very lucky for 20 years. I got multiple hours on the air.
No. We were the lucky ones, Justin.
I was the lucky one. Where, because something would happen and I would be like, that's dumb and not right. And I would get to,
Yeah.
Now, like, my wife is tired of hearing about it. And so you get it once a week.
Yes, Justin, I know the secret sauce.
Yes.
Will you pass the pepper?
Yeah. It's not that far off. So, John Calipari, I think a week ago, went to a podium and fancied himself a soothsayer and basically thinks he solved the problem of college athletics.
It was like a 7.5 minute diatribe.
A diatribe is an exact way of doing it. And so, okay. I'm going to go the long way around, but I'm going to land this plane. Have you ever been in a situation where, like, I remember when I was a younger media person, and I love college football, and I looked up to all these college football media personalities, whether they were writers or broadcasters. And then Oregon got really good, and a lot of them showed up to Autzen Stadium. And I remember talking to a lot of them,
right,
and realizing in real time, they don't know more than me.
Correct.
Like, and it was like a light bulb. It's that weird moment where like people you thought knew more, and you're like, oh no, they don't. They don't. Actually, as a matter of fact, they know less than I do.
Not my parents. love you, mom and dad.
They're the only ones still listening at this point. Yeah. Along with my parents.
Yeah.
Everybody else we lost with the Bulls maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Or maybe it was the Third Eye Blind. Anyways,
I would understand.
So John Calipari goes on this diatribe about how all we got to do is just you can transfer once and then you can't transfer again, and see, simple as that, because we got guys going to 4 or 5 different schools, and my thought was he's got to be smarter than this, because he realizes that is like completely illegal. Now, again, I am not a legal scholar, happen to be married to one, but I'm not. The moment that everyone let college football or college athletes be paid, they became employees. They became money-making entities. And in a capitalist free market society, you cannot stop people from making money. For all of you out there going like, Justin, what about the NFL? That's a players' union. They have a collective bargaining agreement. It's a legal and binding agreement between the organization and the union. There is no such binding agreement between the players in the NCAA or the governing body. So essentially, every player in the NCAA has the ability to make money, and you cannot create rules and regulations that hamper their ability to make money. I was screaming about this when everybody was like, pay the players. And I'm like, you don't know what you're going to start. Because everybody thought that, like Justin Herbert's going to do a Kendall Ford commercial and get paid a couple $1,000. What's wrong with that? And now we have this. Now we have players.
I think in the current transfer portal, the top quarterback right now is going for about $5 million.
$5 million. Moreover, I believe I saw the stat 30% of college football players are in the portal. Iowa's punter, Tyson, is in the portal. Think about that. Iowa's punter. Is there a better place to live
as a punter than Iowa?
Yeah. And he's in the portal. You every single time you try to make transfer restrictions, you get sued and you lose. There is no transfer restrictions. This is what it is. You either have to let it be or you have to completely reverse course and be like, no, they can't get paid anymore, which can't do now. But I'm watching like a guy in John Calipari that I thought was fairly
progressive with all this.
Smart guy, understood in the system, like completely misunderstanding that no. You saying that you should only be able to transfer once and then you have to stick it out, which in theory is a good idea. But players are now the same as coaches. They're employees.
Right.
What if, and not head coaches, but what if you told an assistant coach, yeah, once you go from one school to the next, you can't move, you can't leave ever again. Yeah. We can fire you, sure, but you can. No coach would ever agree to that. But they're tired of chasing these players all around, and it was like, yeah, these even the coaches don't understand. Like the Pandora's box that they opened when they started paying all these guys.
And there's just some like delicious irony behind that too, because Calipari was the one who exploited the system more than any coach in college basketball when he was doing the one and like revolutionized kind of the one and done mentality at Kentucky. And so that just reeks to me of him getting old and not being as good at this current system as he was at that one before. It's as you were able to kind of exploit the last one and here in 2025, it's 2026.
Yeah, it's 2026.
Here in 2026, there's people as good at that part of the game as he is. I don't know how Kentucky is, he's at
Arkansas now.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
7 minutes. 7 minutes was his answer to that question.
Which, yeah, a complete softball lobbed up to him because not like he didn't have that prepared.
No.
But yeah, it's like it's a very simple concept. Like you cannot deny the ability to make money, and if you can, you don't even have to prove it. You just have to say, yeah, I can make more money here. Like we have players, and again, I understand this. I think a handful of Oregon guys have already entered the transfer portal.
Correct.
Mostly third string redshirt guys.
Had a running back going today.
Yeah,
Lamar.
And again, I get it, but like, what a tough spot to be in. Because you might win a national championship, which...
I mean, it was crazy. Like the guys who entered the portal this week, like I saw at Orange Bowl practice last week. I saw them in the locker room at like... Mm-hmm. They're smiling. It's what's crazy to me, too, is it feels like... And maybe there's just some dissension in the locker room that doesn't get out quite as much, but like it just feels like that all the players understand what it is at this point, too. Like it's... I do feel like that there is like a go get yours, supportive mentality, but... the Ducks have lost a handful of defensive backs. They've lost a handful of it's to the point now where it's not going to have zero effect on the rest of this playoff. But, obviously the Ducks aren't alone in all this. All these teams have had some sort of defections, but yeah, it's insane.
The only thing that's kind of comforting is that Indiana's dealing with it too. Mm-hmm. Now, Ole Miss, Tyson, is set to play a college football semifinal game. Mm-hmm. I think they can beat Miami. They just beat Georgia.
Yeah.
I feel like they have the goods to beat Miami. This is the stupid sport that we love.
It's great, isn't it?
If Ole Miss wins this game, LSU pays Lane Kiffin his bonus. Mm-hmm. LSU's already paying Lane Kiffin his bonus because Ole Miss beat Georgia.
Correct. Was it like $500K?
If Ole Miss were to win the national championship, LSU will pay Lane Kiffin, who has yet to coach a minute of football at LSU, $1 million because Ole Miss, who he is no longer coaching anymore, won the national championship. This is the sport that we love. Meanwhile, assistant coaches are being pulled left and right, trying to decide where they best fit for their coaching career, to follow Lane to LSU or to stick it out at Ole Miss and potentially win a championship. And these people have families.
Right.
Like, this is what's going on. I hope we're happy. Hope this is what we wanted. Hope everybody's stoked about that. Just the frustration that I have with, was it so bad before? Was it so bad when players weren't getting paid and when you just had one, like maybe you split national championship every once in a while, but everything was done by New Year's? Like, was it, and then the coaches would move on? Like, was it so bad? Did we really need to just mess with it?
What if we just got like a computer system that could just spit out some numbers, and nobody would have a problem?
We're so far. It's funny though, like you bring that up. Like that was 19 years ago. It was 2007. Well, 18 but like that's how long, like players on this Oregon team have no concept that Oregon got screwed out of an opportunity to play for a national title because of, well, actually that was even further back.
Yeah.
It was 2001. The computer system kept Oregon out. And now a computer system putting a team in probably feels right.
This part of the podcast has been sponsored by Bengay. Bengay, use it to rub down those old joints of yours.
All right.
Speaking of Bengay, Oregon basketball,
Yeah.
Dana Altman, they lost to Rutgers last night. I didn't watch any of the game.
I did. I watched it was on Peacock.
On the cock.
I had to search where Oregon basketball was. Again, let's just bookend this with Matt Preem. So I flip on X is what they call it now. And I see Matt Preem live tweeting Oregon basketball, and I was like, oh, they're playing. Usually my YouTube TV is set to record.
Suggests, yeah.
Well, not Peacock. So I had to go find it. Turns out I do have a subscription to Peacock.
Can you record?
No. So I was watching it live.
But like when the game's over, does it have like any sort
You
of
can
like
rewatch
DVR
it, yeah.
rewatch function? Okay.
Yeah. And you know, I'm all for getting as much out of your college career as you can. I'm all for it. You know, you only have so many years to be able to play college football, basketball, baseball, lacrosse, whatever.
You only get between 4 to 8 years to live out this.
And then when it's over, and it's got to stink. But like, I'm watching Nate Biddle, and I support Nate Biddle. He's a 5'4" guy like me. He's a Southern Oregon guy. But it's like we're still doing this. Like he's not bad enough to where it needs to be replaced, but yet not good enough. Like he's like all Big Ten, but like not going to lead Oregon to like a conference title or anything. And I'm just like, maybe it was time for him to just move on and play in a really competitive rec league down in Central Point. Like maybe it's just.
Well, I mean, like the thing is like, because I don't think Nate Biddle's an NBA player, but I do think he could make a lot of money playing overseas somewhere. Mm-hmm. I was watching Tyler Dorsey Greek highlights on YouTube last night. Boy, he still got that three. So yeah, I mean, like obviously he's got a future. It's just a matter of like, you know, how much did he make to come back to Oregon like this last year? How much of that budget was used to bring a name like him back, and could have been used better to spread around? Because it seems like outside of him and Shellstad, they don't really have any depth on this roster, especially, you know, Biddle's kind of up. And I mean, he is coming back from injury, so like,
and I don't want it to. It sounded bad what I just said, because I believe he had like 28 points or something last night.
Nothing. And Nate Biddle coming back this year wasn't going to like suddenly lead to this football season, you know, like that sort of thing.
The reason why I brought it up is because like this is, I think, kind of the downside of, let's just keep throwing eligibility out there, where it's like college was great because at some point you had to move on.
Right.
And we had to just decide that it's time to go play in Greece, or maybe it's time to go play in the G League, or maybe it's time to sell insurance, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. And instead it's just like we just keep going further. It's like, I don't know. It was just a weird thought I had watching the game, going like, we're still doing this.
I'm just grateful that for our Oregon sports sphere bubble here that we live in, if the Ducks were eliminated from football, this would be a pretty depressing couple weeks here. But because Oregon is still in the college football playoff, it somehow feels like that week between Christmas and New Year's has been extended perennially for, I don't know what day it is, Justin. I know I just fly out in a couple of days and the time zones change. But
I know it's like your suitcase is right off camera. Like it's packed and ready to go. You're heading to Atlanta soon.
I'm ready. It's just kind of felt like it's extended that a little bit of that. It's staved off that post-holidays depression just a little bit, and it's getting us closer to February because, like this, I don't think we're going to find solace in this Oregon men's basketball season. Again, Dana Altman's never the coach that you want to write off, especially later in the year, but just at this point with where Oregon basketball is, they're not going to get an at-large bid, which means they're going to have to win the Big Ten tournament, and the Big Ten is really good. Justin,
really good.
And Oregon hasn't shown anything that makes you believe that they can make that sort of run. But what's really chapping your thighs this week, Justin?
You know, rocks, Tyson. Rocks are...
I thought you'd go down this road.
Yeah. So, quick backstory. I think I said it 2 weeks ago. I think I had parked my truck in front of my house, the end of my dead-end street, and somebody hit it.
Correct.
Somebody hit my truck and then left. Some call it a hit and run. And unlike,
I saw a missing persons report come out a couple of days ago. Did you have anything to...
Yeah, no, nothing to do with that. And didn't leave a note. Just left me with my bumper hanging off my truck. And so, thankfully, I have good insurance. There's a minor blip, an inconvenience, if you will. But I got my truck back on Friday. And, I like my truck. It's got a familiar feel, and it's what I drive. And
give her a shout out. Call her out by name.
Yeah. Actually, never named this one.
Oh, man.
I was driving home yesterday from work, and so I got my truck back on Friday. This was Monday. Semi truck throws a rock, cracks my windshield. My truck has been in the shop in the last month, longer than I think I've driven it.
Right.
And then I finally get it back and cracks my windshield. And after yelling curse words, then doing no, I don't think it cracked it, though. I don't think it cracked it. Yeah. And then I can see it moving.
Starts to spider web.
Yeah. Yep. And then I did it's not so bad. And then I woke up this morning and saw oh, now it's really...
Your eyes start to cross when you get into the car.
And, it just makes me wonder, still haven't been able to figure out rocks and glass with cars. They can drive themselves now. Cars can drive themselves now. Yet, one truck spits a pebble and hits my windshield, and all of a sudden the spider web begins. Have we not fixed this one yet? Is this a conspiracy with Big Windshield? And all of those... Safe Flight Repair, Safe Flight Replace, they all go away if they just invent a windshield that, even Elon tried it with the Cybertruck and he threw a thing on it and it broke and he's like, ooh, that wasn't supposed to happen. We still haven't figured out a way to put something in front of my face and the elements that a pebble could not penetrate.
Especially as we're now getting cell phones that have Gorilla Glass 47.0 that's it can survive a nuclear blast. And I've been fortunate down here. Up in Alaska, you probably get 4 or 5 cracks per winter just because there's a lot of gravel on the road. You gotta not slip around. The last time that I had a substantial crack in my windshield, my wife was helping me change out my windshield wiper blades, and she pulled one up, accidentally let go, and it came back and slapped down and
just got it in the right spot.
Wouldn't you know it?
Yeah. Crack
right down in the windshield. Windshield, turns out, is more expensive to repair than replacing your windshield wipers. The more you know.
The more you know. So, yeah, I wonder, is this a conspiracy of the... Because they have some lab somewhere that's fixed this.
Right.
Right? They know it.
You need to have a car that has kind of a football kicker... just single face mask bar that kind of goes out in front of the windshield, and maybe that could take care of some
like
of the big ones.
when they were like creating like the Model T, if you would have told someone, hey, just so you know, these cars will drive themselves before the ability for the glass to not break. Like, that's just going to happen. And you probably blow somebody's mind.
I think you should just go open cockpit and helmet.
with the goggles?
Yeah, and you can have the tearaway screens.
Yeah.
On your,
That might be my next move.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing, and then because I have a question for you. You and I both grew up in less than metropolises. Mm-hmm. Winston, Oregon is a town of 5,000 people, one stoplight. How many people were in Palmer?
It was about 3,500, 4,000 when I was there. It's maybe 6,000.
So we both grew up in what you would call a small town. As I now live in a big city, I try to be mindful of whether or not I am, for lack of a better term, whether or not I am trash.
Right.
As we mentioned, right now it is January 6th. Don't worry about that.
I'm interested to see where
we're a week into the new year.
Uh-huh.
I was walking out of my house. My Christmas lights are still up, mm-hmm. and my tree is outside, mm-hmm. but like it's laying down next to my fence.
Right.
How long do I have before you would drive by my house and be like, Christmas lights still up and the tree's still out in the front yard? That guy is trash.
Yeah, you might not be asking the right person because you're looking at your like 10 o'clock right now. If you look to your direct noon, you can see my Christmas tree is still up in our window. It turns out it's like the best lights we have in here, and I like the ambiance. We are going through a little bit of the Christmas paraphernalia, like around the yard, though. We've had this wreath that we had on our door. It blew off a couple of days ago.
The universe just...
Yeah, the universe is like, yeah, Christmas is over. Like, yeah, he was born. But the wreath is just kind of sitting up against the door. I've been traveling. I kind of have that excuse of like, I'm too busy to do very, very minor house maintenance. But at some point, I feel like the neighbors. I've been kind of just waiting for one of my neighbors to do it for me, to be honest.
So like February. So like it's February. Like that's the like if you leave your Christmas lights up past like Super Bowl.
Well, I remember because like Jerry's Tavern, which is a bar down in the northwest area of Portland, they put up Christmas. I was doing a story on them in like November of last year, and they just put Christmas lights up on the bar. And he's like, "This is going to look great. It's going to look like a little gingerbread house." And just because he mentioned that in the story, every time I drive by Jerry's, you look at the lights, you notice them, and then it's February, then it's March, then it's April, and at some point I was like, oh, like he's going for it. They're up already. Is essentially the delivery they're going with is, you know what, we're just beating the rush for next year. Just keep them up all the time.
So just keep them up all year?
Yeah, just keep them up all the time and get the lights where you can change the colors. So it's like Valentine's Day, you can do a little pink and red. You can do 4th of July. You know, you're not a holiday guy anymore. You're just living life and celebrating everything.
Yeah. So then like March, you just go green because you got St. Patrick's Day.
Yep. What would May be? Cinco de... What?
You got Cinco de Mayo, but I don't want to say like the colors because that might be taken wrong.
No, let's get into that.
Okay.
No.
Red, white, and green.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, how could that be taken? This is the
Red,
Mexican
white,
flag.
and green. Yeah. Was like Arbor Day? What do you go?
Big tree guy? Would that be like a...
That's how I keep my Christmas tree out. Till June.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I just want my house to operate like the Empire State Building. You know, big national events happen. Seahawks win the title. You honor the team by doing green and blue. Shows up in the newspaper as 760 North Jersey is honoring National Girl Scout Cookie Awareness Day. Bye.
Yep, let's talk.
Yeah, I got nothing else. I think. When do those cookies come out? By the way,
soon.
Okay, yeah.
They let you try to like do a New Year's resolution, And then like mid-February, they show up going, you really don't want to keep eating salad, do you? You want these Thin Mints, huh, big boy?
Big cookie. Big cookie.
All right. They make a lot of money. Where's it go?
Thank you for listening to the I-5 Corridor. And again, this is more on me, and apologies. We've been kind of a little bit infrequent with the last month, a little bit of traveling and holidays mixed in there, but we will be back next week with a post roundup from Atlanta, and you know what? I'm not even going to say the rest, so we'll talk to you next week. Take care.